When celebrities and other famous and notable people die, their deaths understandably make headline news, and people who never knew them personally mourn them in the same way their family and friends do. And visiting their gravesites is one way their fans can say goodbye. Unfortunately, over the years, a number of very famous people or their families have chosen to keep the location of their gravesites a secret from the public. 1 year ago this week, actress and comedian Betty White died just a few weeks short of her 100th birthday. The news of her death surprised and saddened the world when it was announced on New Year's Eve. She was so beloved around the world that one of the first things fans wanted to know was where she would be buried. And hardly a day has gone by this past year where someone hasn't left a message in the comments section asking me if I will be visiting her gravesite and where she's laid to rest. Sadly, according to her Find a Grave memorial page, she was cremated, and she reportedly requested that her final resting place not be revealed to the public. Apparently, she wanted it to be kept secret from her fans. For someone who was so public for 8 decades and was so adored by everyone, this news has come as a real shock to everybody. But Betty White is far from the only famous person or celebrity to choose a secret burial location. James Garner was another very popular and very beloved movie and TV actor who appeared on both the big and small screen for nearly 60 years and who also lived a very long life. He died at the age of 86 on July 9, 2014. Garner appeared in more than 100 movies and TV shows during his long career, but he's probably best remembered by most for his starring roles in the 2 classic TV shows, Maverick and The Rockford Files. And according to his Find a Grave memorial page, he was cremated and the location of his cremated remains are being withheld by the family's request. And just to be clear, the gravesites that I'm talking about today are not famous gravesites that are simply private, gravesites that are off limits to the public, but the public knows where they're located. I'm referring today only to secret gravesites. Gravesites that have purposely been kept secret from the public, either by the famous person themselves or by their family, and the general public has no idea where their gravesites are located. And also the gravesites of famous people who might not be buried secretly, but for some reason the gravesites of these famous people are just unknown to the public. Freddie Mercury was the lead singer with the hugely popular rock group Queen, and when he was alive he was known to be a pretty private person. So it doesn't really come as a huge surprise that his gravesite would be kept secret. He died from AIDS, but didn't even announce it to the public until the day before his death. Mercury died on November 24, 1991, at the young age of 45, and was cremated. According to his Find a Grave memorial page, his wishes were that his girlfriend bury his ashes in an undisclosed location, and she has stated that she will never reveal the spot where his ashes are buried. So apparently his final resting place will intentionally forever be kept a secret. Author J.D. Salinger became famous for writing one of the most popular books ever written, the 1951 best-selling classic The Catcher in the Rye. But during his lifetime he also became equally famous for being very private and secretive and a recluse. So once again, it's not at all surprising that the location of his cremated remains are an unknown secret. He lived to be 91 years old, dying on January 27, 2010, in Cornish City, New Hampshire. Corey Wells was a rock musician, singer, and one of the founding members of the rock band Three Dog Night. He died from multiple myeloma in Dunkirk, New York, on October 20, 2015, at the age of 74. And according to his Find a Grave memorial page, the location of his final resting place 7 years after his death is still unknown. Cheryl Lynn Holdridge was one of the original Mouseketeers from the Mickey Mouse Club TV series from 1956 to 1959. She died from lung cancer in Santa Monica, California on January 6, 2009, at the age of 64. And according to her Find a Grave memorial page, nearly 14 years after her death, the location of her final resting place is also still unknown. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart was a musical child prodigy and one of the most famous composers in world history. He died on December 5, 1791, in Vienna, Austria, at the young age of 35. And for the past 200 plus years, the many possible causes of his death have been investigated and debated, but his exact cause of death is still a mystery today. It's difficult to believe that someone so famous could be buried in an unmarked common grave, but that's apparently what happened to Mozart. It's believed that he was buried at St. Mark's Cemetery in a suburb of Vienna, but the location of his exact grave is unknown today. A cenotaph memorial marker has been placed to remember him, but he's not buried there. Like Mozart, Leonardo da Vinci is one of the most famous people who ever lived. Da Vinci was a painter, sculptor, architect, engineer, scientist, and one of the great masters of the Renaissance period. He died in Amboise, France, on May 2nd, 1519, at the age of 67. According to his Find a Grave memorial page, it's alleged that he's buried somewhere in the Amboise forest, but other sources claim that his remains were buried either at the Church of St. Florentin or at the St. Hubert Chapel on the grounds of the Amboise Chateau, where he spent the final years of his life. But the location is in dispute and no one really knows for sure where he's laid to rest. Alexander the Great was a Macedonian monarch who died in Halaa, Iraq on June 10, 323 BC at the young age of 32. It's believed that he either died from malaria or typhoid fever. According to his Find a Grave memorial page, he was buried in Alexandria, Egypt, but his tomb site was not open to the public and the location was never documented, so no one really knows exactly where he's buried. The legendary Cleopatra was married to Roman ruler Mark Antony, and their love story has become one of the most famous romances in world history. Cleopatra and Mark Antony both committed suicide rather than be captured after their empire was overthrown. Antony was 53 years old, and Cleopatra was 39. They died in Alexandria, Egypt, and they were reportedly buried in Alexandria, Egypt, but even though they were royalty, no one knows where their final resting place is located. This week I want to give a shout out and a very big thank you to the YouTube channel Cemeteries Down Under. Thank you so much, Cemeteries Down Under, for your very kind and very generous donation to my channel using YouTube Super Thanks. I hope everyone watching will check out your excellent graveyard channel too. And as we come to the end of the year 2022, I want to wish you all a very happy and safe new year. For me, this channel is a constant reminder to never take a single day for granted. So here's to all of us who had the good fortune this year to live to celebrate another new year, and a heartfelt cheers to the good memories of those who sadly left us this year. Until our next trip to the cemetery, thanks for sharing the memories, everybody.